Admiral Park Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of the massive Earth warship Taguk. His hands gripped the metal railing as he watched the giant screen in front of him. What he saw made his stomach feel sick. 50,000 people were about to die. Dirkyu. Broadcast came from the Cosmic Council, the group of alien races that ruled the galaxy. They had been in charge for thousands of years. Every planet, every space station, every living being had to follow their rules. No one had ever said no to them. Until now. Captain Lee Dabin walked up to Park. Her face was pale. "Sir, the transmission is going out to every world in the galaxy. Billions of beings are watching this." Park nodded but did not look away from the screen. On it, he could see the human colony of New Busan. The people there looked terrified. They were lined up in long rows on the main street of their city. Above them, alien ships floated in the sky like dark clouds. "What did they do wrong?" Park asked. "The council says they built farms outside their allowed area," Dobbin replied. "They crossed the boundary line by only 5 miles. 5 miles. That was all." Park's jaw got tight with anger. These people had families, they had children, they were farmers trying to grow food for their colony, and now they would die because they planted crops 5 miles too far. The alien voice came through the speakers. It sounded cold and empty, like a machine. "Citizens of the galaxy, witness the price of disobedience. The human settlement of New Busan has violated territorial boundaries. This punishment will serve as a lesson to all primitive species." Park watched as energy beams shot down from the alien ships. The people on the screen simply disappeared. No screams. No last words. They were just gone. Turned into nothing but light and smoke. The Admiral closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, more beams were firing. More people were dying. The aliens were taking their time. They wanted everyone to see. They wanted the galaxy to be afraid. On Earth, President Kim Tae-won sat in his office watching the same broadcast. Around him, his top advisors stared at the screen in shock. Defense Minister Choi Min-ji put her hand over her mouth. Space Marshal Yoon Jae-hyuk slammed his fist on the table. "Those monsters," Yoon said. "They are killing innocent people like they are insects." President Kim did not speak. He watched every second of the horrible show. He saw children disappear in flashes of light. He saw old people who could barely walk getting vaporized where they stood. His hand shook with rage. Lieutenant Han Soo-jin worked at her computer station. She was trying to intercept alien communications. Her fingers moved fast across the controls as she listened to the enemy signals. "Mr. President," she said, "I am picking up council transmissions. They are talking about this execution." "What are they saying?" Kim asked. Soo-jin listened for a moment. Her face went white. "They are calling this a gentle warning, sir. They say humans are barely smart enough to understand the lesson. One of them is laughing. Laughing. They were laughing while they murdered 50,000 human beings." Back on the Taeguk, Park watched the last group of colonists get executed. The alien ships turned off their weapons. The city of New Busan was now empty except for buildings. Every person who lived there was dead. The cold alien voice spoke again. "Let this be a lesson to all species. The Cosmic Council maintains order in the galaxy. Those who break our laws will face justice. The human species will learn to stay within their boundaries." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Park turned to face his crew. Every person on the bridge looked angry and sad. Many had tears in their eyes. These were tough space marines and ship officers. They had seen combat before. But nothing like this. "Captain Dobbin," Park said. His voice was steady but full of rage. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what we witnessed here today." "Yes, sir," Dobbin replied. "What should I say?" Park looked back at the dark screen. "Tell them the Cosmic Council just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They think we will be scared. They think we will bow down and follow their rules after this." He turned to face his crew again. They are wrong. On Earth, President Kim stood up from his chair. His advisors waited for him to speak. The room was quiet except for the sound of people breathing hard. "Get me a direct line to every council world," Kim said finally. "Sir?" Minister Choi asked. "What are you planning?" Kim walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien creatures thought they could murder humans without consequences. They thought Earth would accept this massacre and stay quiet. "I'm going to give them a choice," Kim said. "They can surrender the ones who did this and pay for what they have done, or they can face the consequences." "Mr. President," Marshal Yoon said carefully, "they have thousands of ships. They have weapons we have never seen. They have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. No one has ever challenged them and won." Kim turned back to face the room. His eyes were hard as steel. "Then it is time someone taught them that their reign of terror is over." Lieutenant Sujin was still listening to alien communications. She looked up from her computer. "Sir, they are intercepting our transmissions. They know we are angry about the executions." "What are they saying about it?" Sujin listened for a moment. "They are not worried, sir. One of them said that humans will forget about this in a few months. Another one said we do not have the courage to fight back." President Kim smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who was about to prove someone very wrong. "Contact Admiral Park on the Tiguk," Kim ordered. "Tell him to prepare the fleet." "Which fleet, sir?" Minister Choi asked. "All of them," Kim replied. "And contact Dr. Nam at the Advanced Weapons Division. Tell him it is time to test Project Prometheus." The advisors looked at each other with surprise. Project Prometheus was Earth's most secret military program. For 20 years, human scientists had been studying captured alien technology. They had been building new weapons and ships in hidden bases throughout the solar system. "Sir?" Marshal Yoon said quietly. "Are we really going to war with the Cosmic Council?" Kim looked back at the dark screen where 50,000 innocent people had just been murdered. They started this war when they decided human lives meant nothing. Now they are going to learn what happens when you anger the human race. On the Tiguk, Admiral Park received the message from Earth. He read it twice to make sure he understood correctly. Then he called his senior officers to the bridge. "Ladies and gentlemen," Park said, "we have new orders from Earth Command. We are to prepare for combat operations against the Cosmic Council." The bridge crew looked shocked. Captain Dobbin spoke first. "Sir, that is impossible. They have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. No one has ever defeated them." Park looked at each of his officers. These were good people, brave people. They deserved to know the truth. "For 20 years, Earth has been preparing for this day," he said. "We knew that someday we would have to fight for our freedom. We have new ships, new weapons, new technology that the Council has never seen." He paused and looked at the dark screen again. "Today, they crossed a line. They murdered innocent people just to send a message. They think we are weak. They think we will be afraid." Park turned back to his crew. "It is time to show them what humans are really made of. Send word to all Earthships in this sector. We are going to make the Cosmic Council pay for what they have done." As the crew rushed to carry out their orders, Park stood alone on the bridge. He thought about the 50,000 people who had died today. They had been farmers and teachers and children and grandparents. They had been trying to build a new life on a distant world. Now they were gone. But their deaths would not be meaningless. They would be the spark that started a fire across the galaxy, a fire that would burn away the Council's power and give freedom to every oppressed species in the universe. The war was about to begin. President Kim Tae-won stood in front of the biggest communication array on Earth. The massive dish pointed toward the stars, ready to send his message to every world in the galaxy. Around him, technicians worked to make sure the signal would reach even the farthest alien planets. "Are we ready?" Kim asked. "Yes, sir," the lead technician replied. "Every Council world will receive this message. They cannot block it or stop it." Kim nodded. He had written his speech carefully. Every word mattered. This message would either start a war or end one quickly. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. "Begin transmission," he ordered. The red light came on. Kim looked directly into the camera. His voice was calm but filled with steel. Citizens of the Cosmic Council, I am President Kim Tae-won of Earth. Today, you murdered 50,000 innocent human beings. You killed farmers and children and old people who had done nothing wrong except try to build a better life. He paused for a moment. You did this to scare us. You wanted to show the galaxy that humans are weak, that we will bow down to your power like every other species has done for thousands of years. Kim's voice got harder. You were wrong. I am giving you exactly 72 standard hours to do two things. First, you will surrender every council member who ordered these executions. They will face trial for murder. Second, you will pay compensation to the families of every person you killed today. The president stepped closer to the camera. If you do not do these things, Earth will take appropriate action. We will not bow down. We will not be afraid. And we will not forget what you have done. The transmission ended. The message shot out into space at the speed of light, racing toward thousands of alien worlds. On the Council's capital world, the ruling creatures gathered in their great assembly hall. The building was enormous, with towers that reached into the clouds. Inside, representatives from 12 different alien species sat in judgment over the galaxy. The Hegemarch Veltharion was the leader of the ethereal dominion. He was tall and thin with gray skin and eyes like black holes. When he heard the human message, he started laughing. Did you hear that? He said to the other council members. The insects think they can give us orders. The Nexus Queen of the Crystalline Collective sparkled with angry light. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors with her emotions. Right now, she was bright red with rage. How dare they? She hissed. Primitive creatures demanding justice from their betters. Do they not understand that we could destroy their entire planet with a single ship? The war prime of the Vorthak Legion slammed his armored fist on the table. The Vorthak looked like giant lizards covered in metal scales. They were the Council's main military force. Let me take my fleet to their homeworld, the war prime growled. I will show them what happens when insects try to sting gods. But Veltharion held up his hand. No, not yet. Let them think about their foolish words for a while. When their 72 hours are up, we will respond in a way that teaches the entire galaxy what happens to those who challenge the Council. Meanwhile, on Earth, Fleet Admiral Song Borum was very busy. She stood in a secret command center deep underground. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of ships throughout the solar system. For 20 years, Earth had been preparing for this day. They had built ships in hidden asteroid bases. They had developed new weapons using alien technology they had captured over the years. Most importantly, they had kept it all secret from the Council. Admiral, said Commander Jang Wubin. All stealth fleets are in position. The Council has no idea how many ships we actually have. Song nodded. The Council thought Earth had maybe 100 warships. They were wrong. Earth had been building ships for 2 decades using automated factories, hidden throughout the solar system. The real number was much higher. What about Project Prometheus? Song asked. Dr. Nam Ki-young stepped forward. He was the head of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division. For years, he had been working on humanity's secret weapon. The new ships are ready, Dr. Nam said. We have reverse-engineered Council shield technology and improved it. We have weapons that can punch through their armor. Most importantly, we have something they have never seen before. Which is? Dr. Nam smiled. Adaptive defense systems. Our shields can change frequency in real time to match whatever weapon is being used against us. Their energy beams will be useless. Song felt a spark of hope. Maybe this crazy plan could actually work. Captain Jang led his reconnaissance team to the Proxima Relay Station. This was a Council communications hub that controlled information flow in this part of the galaxy. If Earth was going to fight, they needed to know what the enemy was planning. Jang's ship was small and fast, designed to avoid detection. With him were tech specialist Kang Hyewan and pilot Lim Dong-soo. They had done spy missions before, but never anything this dangerous. Approaching the station now, Lim reported. Council security is heavy. I count 12 patrol ships. Can you get us close without being seen? Zhang asked. Watch me, Lim replied with a grin. The pilot was one of the best in the Earth fleet. He guided their ship through the asteroid field around the station, using the rocks to hide from enemy sensors. After an hour of careful flying, they reached a docking port on the station's dark side. Kang connected her equipment to the station's computers. Her fingers flew over the controls as she broke through alien security systems. I'm in, she whispered, downloading their communications now. What she found made her blood run cold. The Council was mobilizing a massive fleet. Hundreds of ships were moving toward Earth's sector of space. They called it a pacification fleet, designed to crush human resistance before it could begin. How long until they arrive? Zhang asked. Kang checked the data. 18 hours, sir. They will be here before our 72-hour deadline is up. Zhang cursed under his breath. The Council was not going to wait for Earth's ultimatum to expire. They were coming to end this before it started. Back on Earth, Ambassador Xin Yun-Young prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in human history. She was Earth's best negotiator, a woman who had solved conflicts that others said were impossible. But she had never tried to negotiate with beings who saw humans as insects. Her ship was fast and small, designed to reach the Council capital world before the deadline expired. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a peaceful solution to this crisis. The journey took 36 hours. When Xin arrived at the Council world, she was escorted by armed alien guards to the Great Assembly Hall. The building was so large that she felt like an ant walking into a cathedral. The Council members sat on high platforms, looking down at her like she was something they had found on the bottom of their shoes. Veltharion spoke first. So the insects have sent a speaker, he said. His voice echoed through the hall. Tell us, little creature, do you understand how foolish your president's words were? Xin stood straight and tall. She would not show fear, even surrounded by beings who could kill her with a thought. I understand that 50,000 innocent people are dead, she replied. I understand that you murdered them to send a message, and I understand that this can end peacefully if you do the right thing. The Council members started laughing. It was a terrible sound, like the screaming of metal being torn apart. The Nexus Queen's crystal body flashed with amused colors. The right thing? She said. Child, we have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We decide what is right. Your species exists because we allow it. You live where we tell you to live. You do what we tell you to do. Veltharion leaned forward. Your people violated our boundaries. The punishment was death. This is our law. This is galactic order. Your law is murder, Xin replied. Your order is tyranny. And it ends now. The war prime of the Vorthak stood up. His massive form cast a shadow over the human ambassador. It ends when we say it ends, insect. Your president has 40 hours left to surrender himself for punishment. If he does not, we will glass your entire planet. Xin looked up at the alien creature without flinching. Then you will have to kill every human being in the galaxy, because we will never bow down to you again. She turned and walked out of the hall. Behind her, the Council members laughed and made jokes about human arrogance. They had no idea what was coming. When Xin returned to her ship, she sent a message back to Earth. Diplomacy has failed. They will not listen to reason. They see us as animals, not people. President Kim received the message in his war room. Around him, his military commanders waited for orders. The 72-hour deadline was almost up. Any word from Captain Zhang's reconnaissance mission? Kim asked. Marshal Yun nodded grimly. Their pacification fleet will arrive in 6 hours. Mr. President, 400 ships including 3 dreadnought-class vessels. They are not coming to negotiate. Kim looked at the holographic display showing Council fleet movements. Red dots moved toward Earth like a swarm of angry wasps. Each dot represented a ship capable of destroying an entire city. Admiral Song, are our forces ready? Yes, sir, Song replied. All stealth fleets are in position. Project Prometheus ships are powered up and ready for combat. Dr. Nam's new weapons are loaded and tested. Kim took a deep breath. In the next few hours, either humanity would win its freedom or cease to exist. There was no middle ground. "Send the message," he ordered. The Council's pacification fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. 400 alien warships appeared in a massive formation that stretched across millions of miles. At the center were 3 dreadnought-class vessels, each one the size of a small moon. War Prime Thakmor of the Vorthak Legion stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Around him, his officers prepared for what they thought would be an easy victory. Humans had never won a battle against Council forces. Today would be no different. "Scan for human ships," Thakmor ordered. His sensor officer, a thin creature with 4 arms, worked at his controls. After a moment, he looked up with confusion. "War Prime, I am detecting only 12 human vessels. They appear to be standard patrol ships." Thakmor laughed, a sound like grinding metal. 12 ships? The insects send 12 ships against our fleet of 400? Their stupidity knows no bounds. What the aliens did not know was that Admiral Park Kyung-ho was watching them from the bridge of the Teguk. His ship was hidden behind Jupiter's largest moon, invisible to Council sensors thanks to new stealth technology. "Sensor report," Park ordered. Captain Lee Dabin studied her displays. 400 enemy ships confirmed, 3 dreadnoughts, 50 heavy cruisers, and the rest are destroyers and frigates. They are moving toward Earth at standard approach speed. Park nodded. The Council was being careless. They thought this would be a simple extermination mission. They were about to get the shock of their lives. "Signal the fleet," Park commanded. "All units prepare for Operation Hammerstrike." Throughout the solar system, human ships powered up their weapons and began moving into position. They had been waiting and hiding for hours, using asteroids and planets to stay invisible. The Council had no idea what was about to hit them. The 12 human patrol ships that the aliens had detected suddenly changed course. Instead of running away, they headed straight toward the massive Council fleet. "Are they insane?" asked the sensor officer on Thakmor's ship. "They are attacking us?" Thakmor watched the tiny human ships approach his fleet. "Let them come. We will swat them like flies." But something strange happened. As the human ships got closer, more ships appeared. They seemed to materialize out of empty space, dropping their stealth fields as they moved into attack formation. Suddenly, the Council was not facing 12 ships. They were facing 200. "Impossible!" Thakmor roared. "Where did they come from?" His sensor officer was frantically checking his equipment. "War Prime, my sensors show nothing wrong. These ships were simply invisible to our detection systems." Commander Bae Hyun-sik flew his experimental fighter, the Gwangaito, straight toward the enemy flagship. His ship was small and fast, designed to punch through enemy defenses like a bullet through paper. "Phoenix Squadron, this is Phoenix Lead," Bae said into his radio. "Target the command ship's bridge section. Let's show these aliens what human pilots can do." His squadron of 12 fighters followed him into the heart of the enemy formation. The Council ships fired their energy weapons, but the human fighters seemed to dance between the beams. Their new engines could change direction instantly, making them impossible to hit. Bae armed his quantum tunneling missiles. These weapons used alien technology that Earth scientists had improved. The missiles could phase through enemy shields like they were not there at all. "Firing now," Bae announced. 6 missiles shot out from his fighter. They passed right through the Eternal Dominion's powerful shields and exploded against the ship's hull. The massive vessel shuddered as explosions tore through its command section. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Thakmor was thrown to the floor as his ship shook under the impact. Emergency lights flashed red as damage reports flooded in. "Shields are still up," his tactical officer reported. "How did those weapons get through?" Before Thakmor could answer, more human fighters swarmed around his ship. Their weapons seemed to ignore his shields completely. Explosions blossomed across the hull of his mighty dreadnought. Chief Engineer Oh So-young worked frantically on the bridge of the Teguk. Her job was to coordinate the shield harmonics for the entire human fleet. As Council ships fired their weapons, she analyzed each energy signature and adjusted Earth's defenses accordingly. "Incoming Vorthak plasma cannons," she announced, adjusting shield frequency to match. The alien energy beam struck the human ships but could not penetrate their defenses. Earth's adaptive shields changed their properties in real time, turning aside weapons that should have destroyed them instantly. Crystal collective phase disruptors detected. O called out, compensating now. The crystalline ships tried to fire beams that could pass through normal shields, but Earth's technology adapted too fast. Every attack was stopped before it could do damage. Admiral Park watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. The human fleet was scattered throughout the solar system, using hit-and-run tactics against the larger Council force. Earth ships would appear, fire their weapons, and then disappear again before the enemy could respond. Status report, Park ordered. Enemy fleet has lost 30 ships so far, Dobbin reported. We have taken no losses. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Park smiled grimly. 20 years of preparation were paying off. Earth had studied every Council weapon, every defensive system, every tactical doctrine. They knew exactly how to fight this enemy. Captain Ryu Min-ho led his Marine boarding teams against a disabled Council cruiser. The alien ship had been crippled by human fighters and was drifting helplessly through space. Remember your training, Ryu told his men as their assault shuttle approached the enemy vessel. These aliens are stronger and faster than humans, but our armor evens the odds. His Marines wore powered combat suits that multiplied their strength and speed. The suits were equipped with shields, weapons, and life support systems that could keep a soldier fighting for days. They cut through the alien ship's hull and stormed inside. The Council crew was waiting for them, armed with energy weapons and filled with confidence. These creatures had never lost a battle against primitive species. The first alien soldier that Ryu encountered was a Vorthak warrior, 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor. The creature roared and charged at him with claws that could cut through steel. Ryu fired his pulse rifle once. The energy beam punched through the alien's armor and dropped him instantly. Around the corridor, his Marines were doing the same thing to other Council soldiers. Impossible, gasped a wounded ethereal officer. How are you so strong? Ryu looked down at the alien through his helmet visor. You thought humans were weak because you never fought us when we were ready for you. Within an hour, the entire alien ship was under human control. Similar boarding actions were happening throughout the battle zone, as disabled Council vessels fell to Earth's Marines. Back on the Eternal Dominion, War Prime Thakmor was getting desperate. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled, and the human ship seemed impossible to hit. Worse, his own weapons were useless against their shields. All ships retreat to hyperspace, he ordered. But even retreating was difficult. Human fighters swarmed around every Council ship, firing their phase-through missiles and disabling enemy engines. Many alien vessels found themselves trapped, unable to run from the battle they were losing. The Crystalline Collective's command ship tried to use its emergency jump drive to escape. The crystal vessel began to glow as it prepared to leap into hyperspace. Commander Zhang Wubin, who had been monitoring Council communications, quickly warned the fleet. Enemy flagship is trying to escape. All units concentrate fire on the crystal ship. Dozens of human vessels turned their weapons on the retreating alien. Quantum missiles and particle beams struck the crystalline hull from every direction. The beautiful crystal structure began to crack and shatter under the assault. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking its crew of 1,000 aliens with it. Across the galaxy, other crystalline collective ships felt the death of their command vessel through their psychic link. For the first time in their long lives, they knew fear. As the battle raged on, word of the fighting spread to other parts of the galaxy. Alien species that had been enslaved by the Council for centuries watched in amazement as humans actually defeated Council forces in open combat. On the mining world of Kepler 442, the Kethmori slaves stopped working and looked up at the stars. Their reptilian faces showed hope for the first time in generations. If humans could fight the Council and win, maybe freedom was possible. In the hidden asteroid bases of the Zeftai, insectoid creatures that everyone thought were extinct began preparing their own ships for war. They had been hiding for hundreds of years, waiting for someone to challenge the Council's power. The battle in Earth's solar system continued for 6 hours. When it was over, the mighty Council pacification fleet was in ruins. Of the 400 ships that had arrived to crush human resistance, only 50 managed to escape back to hyperspace. Admiral Park stood on his bridge, looking at the wreckage floating around Earth's sun. Pieces of alien ships drifted through space like metal snow. The Council's supposedly invincible military had been shattered by a species they considered primitive. "Send a message to Earth Command," Park ordered. "Tell President Kim that the first battle is won, but this is just the beginning." News of humanity's victory traveled across the galaxy like wildfire. On the mining world of Kepler 442, the Kethmori slaves had been working in the deep tunnels for over 200 years. Their reptilian ancestors had been a proud warrior race, before the Council enslaved them. Warrior Chief Sektar heard the news from a smuggler who visited the mining station. The human had told him that Earth ships had destroyed a Council fleet of 400 vessels. At first, Sektar could not believe. "You lie," he said to the smuggler. "No one defeats the Council. They are too powerful." The smuggler, a grizzled old man named Captain Torres, shook his head. "I saw the wreckage myself, friend. Pieces of Council ships floating around Earth's sun like scrap metal. The humans did something that was supposed to be impossible." Sektar looked around at his fellow Kethmori. They were thin and weak from years of forced labor, but in their eyes he saw something that had been missing for generations: hope. "If humans can fight them," Sektar said quietly, "then so can we." Within days, the Kethmori began preparing for rebellion. They had been forced to mine weapons-grade metals for the Council. Now they would use those same metals to forge weapons for themselves. Far away, in the hidden asteroid fields of the Outer Rim, the Zeftai Queen received the news with great interest. Her species looked like giant insects, with 4 arms and wings that could carry them through space without ships. Everyone thought they were extinct. The Council had tried to wipe out the Zeftai 300 years ago. They had failed, but barely. The survivors had hidden in secret bases, breeding slowly and waiting for their chance at revenge. Queen Lixara called her war leaders together. "The humans have shown us that the Council can bleed," she said in the clicking language of her people. "Now we will show them that the Zeftai are not dead." Her warriors buzzed with excitement. They had been waiting centuries for this moment. Their ships were old, but they had been maintained with loving care. Their weapons were primitive by Council standards, but they were deadly in the right hands. On Earth, General Park Minseo stood in the new war room that had been built deep under the Pacific Ocean. Holographic displays showed the positions of ships throughout known space. Red dots marked Council forces. Blue dots showed human vessels, but now there were also green dots appearing all over the galaxy. "General," said her aide, Lieutenant Kim Jae-sung, "we are receiving communications from 17 different alien species. They all want to join our fight against the Council." Park studied the display with satisfaction. This was what she had hoped for. Humanity's victory had proven that the Council could be defeated. Now, other oppressed species were finding the courage to fight back. "What species are contacting us?" Park asked. "The Kethmori from the mining worlds, the Zeftai from the Outer Rim, the Velkaran from the agricultural planets, even some of the smaller species that the Council uses as servants." Park nodded. Each species brought different strengths to the alliance. The Kethmori were natural warriors. The Zeftai could fight in space without ships. The Velkaran had access to the Council's food production systems. "Set up communication links with all of them," Park ordered. "We need to coordinate our attacks." Dr. Kim Hoon-jong worked in his laboratory deep beneath the mountains of Colorado. For months, he had been developing a weapon specifically designed to counter the Council's greatest advantage: their ability to control other species through psychic manipulation. The neural disruption field was based on human brainwave patterns. Humans were one of the few species that the Council could not control mentally. Dr. Kim had studied this resistance and found a way to turn it into a weapon. "Test firing in 10 seconds, he announced to his team. In the test chamber, a group of volunteer soldiers stood ready. They had been given mild psychic suggestions by a captured Council device. The device made them want to kneel down and obey orders without question. Dr. Kim activated his neural disruption field. Invisible waves of energy filled the chamber. Instantly, the soldiers shook their heads and stood up straight. The psychic control was broken. It works, Dr. Kim said with a smile. We can free entire planets from Council mind control. His assistant, Dr. Lee Yu-jin, checked the readings. The field has a range of 50 kilometers, sir. We could mount these devices on our ships and break the Council's control over their slave soldiers. This was huge. Many of the Council's ground forces were not volunteers. They were enslaved species forced to fight through psychic control. If Earth could break that control, those soldiers might switch sides in the middle of battle. The Council's response to the growing rebellion was swift and brutal. War Prime Thakmor, still angry about his defeat at Earth, was given command of a new fleet. His orders were simple: destroy any world that showed signs of rebellion. The first target was Altair Prime, a beautiful world where the Velkaran grew food for half the galaxy. When the Velkaran farmers heard about humanity's victory, they had stopped sending food shipments to Council worlds. Thakmor's fleet arrived at Altair Prime with 200 ships. The planet had no military defenses. It was home to billions of peaceful farmers who had never hurt anyone. Begin orbital bombardment, Thakmor ordered. Energy beams rained down from space, destroying cities and farmlands. Millions of innocent Velkaran died in the first hour. The survivors sent desperate messages throughout the galaxy begging for help. But help was already on the way. Captain Hong Ju-wan had been leading deep reconnaissance missions into Council space. His ship, the Soul, was one of Earth's newest stealth vessels. It could travel faster than any Council ship and remain invisible to their sensors. Captain, said his communications officer, we are receiving the distress call from Altair Prime. The Council is destroying the planet. Hong's jaw tightened with anger. How long until we can reach them? His navigator, Lieutenant Pak Subin, checked her calculations. 18 hours at maximum speed, sir. Too long, Hong said. The planet will be dead by then. But infiltration specialist Seo Aram had an idea. Sir, what if we do not go to the planet? What if we go to the Council supply base at Rigel Station instead? Hong looked at her with interest. Explain. The fleet attacking Altair Prime gets its fuel and ammunition from Rigel Station, SEO said. If we destroy the station, they will have to stop their attack and return to base. It was a dangerous plan. Rigel Station was heavily defended and deep in Council space. But it might be the only way to save Altair Prime. Set course for Rigel Station, Hong ordered. Maximum stealth, maximum speed. The Soul raced through hyperspace, toward the Council supply base. With Hong were systems expert Quan Taijun and demolition specialist Sergeant Bei Kiho. They had done impossible missions before, but this one would test all their skills. Rigel Station was a massive structure that floated in empty space between two dead stars. It stored fuel, weapons, and supplies for Council fleets throughout this sector. Destroying it would cripple Council operations for months. Approaching the station now, reported Pilot Lieutenant Yoon Sang-wook. Heavy security. I count 40 patrol ships. Hong studied the tactical display. The station had shields and defensive weapons, but most of its protection came from the patrol fleet. If they could get past the ships, the station itself would be vulnerable. Take us in slow and quiet, Hong ordered. Use the asteroid field for cover. Yoon was one of Earth's best pilots. He guided the Soul through the floating rocks around the station, keeping them hidden from enemy sensors. After 2 hours of careful flying, they reached a docking port on the station's dark side. Quan connected his equipment to the station's computer system. His job was to download the Council's military database, while Bei planted explosives throughout the structure. I am in their system, Quan whispered, downloading fleet positions, supply schedules, and weapon specifications. The information was priceless. Earth would know where every Council ship was located and how well they were armed. But they had to survive long enough to get the data home. Bei moved through the station's corridors, planting explosive charges at key structural points. The station was so large that it would take dozens of bombs to destroy it completely. Charges set. Bay reported over the radio. This place will be scattered across 3 star systems when I trigger them. But as they prepared to leave, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed as Council security forces rushed toward their location. We have been detected, SEO reported. Council Marines are moving to intercept us. Hong made a quick decision. Quan, how much data? Have you downloaded? About 60%, sir. I need 5 more minutes. You have them, Hong said. He grabbed his rifle and moved toward the corridor where the enemy would appear. Everyone else, defensive positions. The first Council soldiers to reach them were Vorthak warriors 8 feet tall and armed with energy weapons. They expected to find helpless human spies. Instead, they found Earth's best Special Forces soldiers ready for a fight. Hong's rifle fired streams of superheated plasma that could cut through Vorthak armor like paper. SEO threw grenades that exploded, with electromagnetic pulses disabling the aliens' weapons and armor systems. Data download complete, Quan announced. Move, Hong ordered. The team fought their way back to their ship as more Council forces arrived. The final battle began at the edge of the Council's capital system. The massive space station called Eternal Dominion hung in orbit around the Council's home world like a metal moon. For 3,000 years, it had been the center of galactic power. Today, it would either remain the seat of tyranny or become a symbol of freedom. Admiral Park Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of the Taeguk, looking at the largest fleet ever assembled. Over 2,000 ships filled the space around him. Human vessels flew alongside Kethmori warships, Zeftai fighters, and vessels from dozens of other species. All of them had come to end the Council's reign of terror. Fleet status report. Park ordered. Captain Lee Dabin checked her displays. All Allied fleets are in position, sir. The Kethmori assault ships are ready for close combat. The Zeftai fighters are prepared for their attack runs. Our human ships have full ammunition and power, Park nodded. The Alliance fleet was impressive, but their enemy was even larger. The Council had gathered every ship they could find. Nearly 3,000 vessels defended their capital, including massive dreadnoughts that could destroy planets. And the Council fleet? They have taken defensive positions around the Eternal Dominion, Dobbin reported. Heavy shields, overlapping fire zones, and their planet killer weapon is powered up. The planet killer. That was the Council's ultimate threat. The weapon could destroy entire worlds by causing their stars to explode. If the rebellion failed today, Earth itself would be turned to ash. President Kim Tae-won was not with the fleet. He remained on Earth, ready to broadcast one final message to the galaxy. In his hands, he held a device that could save or damn every free species in the universe. Mr. President, said Dr. Nam Ki-young, the quantum cascade generator is ready. If the Council tries to use their planet killer, we can turn it back on them. Kim looked at the small device. It represented 20 years of scientific research and humanity's desperate gamble for survival. The generator could reverse the polarity of the Council's weapon, but only if it was placed exactly right inside their space station. Is Commander Lee's team in position? Kim asked. Yes, sir. They have been hiding inside the station for 3 days. Commander Lee Chan-woo and his infiltration team had used captured Council ships to sneak into the Eternal Dominion before the battle began. Now they waited in the station's deepest levels, ready to deploy the quantum cascade generator when the moment came. With Lee were demolitions expert Jung Hyo-jin and engineer An Gi-seok. All 3 had volunteered for what was essentially a suicide mission. If they failed, Earth would die. If they succeeded, they probably would not live to see their victory. The battle began when the Council fired the first shot. A massive energy beam shot out from the Eternal Dominion, aimed at the human flagship. The beam was powerful enough to destroy a moon. But the Taeguk's adaptive shields held. The energy was absorbed and redirected, causing the beam to bounce harmlessly into space. Around the Alliance fleet, similar scenes played out as human shield technology protected ships that should have been destroyed instantly. All ships attack, Park ordered. 2,000 Alliance vessels charged toward the Council's defenses. Human ships used their phase-through weapons to bypass enemy shields. Kethmori warships fired explosive shells that could crack dreadnought armor. Zeftai fighters swarmed around council vessels like angry bees, too small and fast to hit but deadly with their Stinger missiles. The space between the fleets lit up with weapons fire. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma bolts filled the darkness like a deadly light show. Ships on both sides exploded in brilliant flashes as the two largest military forces in galactic history fought for the future of civilization. War Prime Thakmor commanded the Council's defenses from his new flagship. He watched in growing horror as his supposedly superior forces began to lose the battle. Human technology was better than Council intelligence had predicted. Their weapons were more powerful. Their defenses were stronger. Worst of all, their tactics were completely unpredictable. How are they doing this? Thakmor roared as another Council dreadnought exploded under human fire. They are primitives, insects. They should not be able to fight us as equals. His tactical officer, a nervous ethereal, pointed at the battle display. War Prime, their ships are using coordinated attacks. They share targeting data in real time. When one ship finds a weakness in our defenses, all their ships know about it instantly. Was true. The Alliance fleet fought like a single organism instead of thousands of separate ships. Human communications technology allowed instant coordination across the entire battle zone. When a Kethmori ship discovered that Council shields were weak against a certain type of weapon, every human ship switched to that weapon within seconds. Commander Bae Hyun-sik led his fighter squadron straight into the heart of the Council formation. His target was the station's main shield generator, a massive structure that protected the Eternal Dominion from attack. Phoenix Squadron, stay tight, Bae said into his radio. We need to punch through their fighter screen first. Council fighters swarmed around his squadron like metallic wasps. But human pilots had trained for this moment. Their ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything the Council had. More importantly, the pilots themselves were better. Bae's wingman Lieutenant Ko Yun-ho shot down 3 Council fighters in rapid succession. His quantum missiles phased through their shields and destroyed them instantly. Around the battlefield, other human pilots were doing the same thing. Clear path. To the target, Ko reported. Go, go, go! Bae's fighter dove toward the shield generator, dodging energy beams and missile fire. The structure was the size of a city block, protected by dozens of defensive weapons. But Bae had trained for this attack for months. He fired all his missiles, at once. 6 quantum-tunneling warheads phased through the generator's armor and exploded inside its core. The massive structure went dark as power failed throughout the system. Shield generator down, Bae announced. Instantly, the Alliance fleet concentrated fire on the now vulnerable Eternal Dominion. The ancient space station shuddered under the assault as its hull began to crack and burn. Inside the station, Commander Lee Chan-woo felt the explosions shaking the structure around him. The attack has begun, he told his team. We need to reach the Planet Killer's control room. The 3 humans made their way through corridors filled with emergency lighting and the sounds of battle. Council security forces were running toward the fighting, leaving the station's inner areas less defended than usual. Jung Hyo-jin checked her explosives as they moved. I have enough charges to take out the weapon's power core, she said, but we need to be very close when I set them off. An Gi-seok monitored the station's systems on his portable computer. The Planet Killer is charging up, he reported. They are going to fire it at Earth. Lee's blood ran cold. If the weapon fired successfully, his homeworld would be destroyed, along with billions of innocent people. They had to stop it no matter the cost. The 3 humans reached the Planet Killer's control room just as Council technicians began the final firing sequence. The weapon was massive, powered by the energy of captured stars. When it fired, it would cause Earth's sun to go supernova, destroying everything in the solar system. Stop right there, Lee shouted, pointing his rifle at the alien technicians. The Council creatures turned in surprise. They had never expected humans to penetrate so deep into their most secure facility. For a moment, everyone froze. Then the station's commander, a tall ethereal named Sek Thorin, reached for an alarm switch. Lee shot him before he could trigger it. The energy beam cut through the alien's chest, dropping him instantly. Young place. The generator, Lee ordered. An, take control of their systems. Jung ran to the weapon's core while An hacked into the Council's computers. But they were not alone for long. More Council security forces were coming, drawn by the sound of weapons. Fire. I need 2 minutes, Jung called out as she worked to install the quantum cascade generator. You have them, Lee replied. He and An set up defensive positions at the room's entrance, ready to hold off an army if necessary. The first Council, soldiers to reach them were Vorthak Marines, heavily armored and armed with the best weapons in the galaxy. They expected to crush 3 human infiltrators easily. Instead, they found soldiers who fought with the desperation of people defending their entire species. Lee's rifle cut through Vorthak armor like it was made of paper. An threw grenades that filled the corridor with deadly energy, forcing the aliens back. 1 minute, Jung announced. More Council forces arrived. Ethereal psychic warriors tried to control the humans' minds. But Earth soldiers were naturally resistant to mental manipulation. Crystalline soldiers fired beams that could cut through any material, but human armor adapted to each attack. 30 seconds. Lee was wounded now, blood running down his arm from an energy blast. An was on his knees, his armor cracked and smoking, but they kept fighting knowing that Earth's survival depended on them. Generator installed, Jung shouted. At that moment, the planet killer fired. The weapon's beam shot out toward Earth, carrying enough energy to destroy an entire solar system. For a few terrible seconds, it looked like the Council had won. Then Jung activated the quantum cascade generator.